Oh, we're live. You can hear us.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. Oh, should have checked. Let's see. This is Raider good? You tell me, Herman.
All right. Is Raider good? Well, his Storming Tap got nerfed again because the side dodge. I think you mentioned in the Warrior Den stream that the side dodge version was reduced to 533 ms, so it's the same indicator as currently in live, but that has also applied to his soft feint Storming Tap as well. So in that sense, it is gone. It is slower. And Freeze, you measured the indicators, right? And they're still hidden the same amount.
Yeah, consistent throughout the board. Soft feints, dodges, still the same.
Yeah.
All slowed down.
So in that sense, it is slowed down. It'll be a bit more reactable. His damage numbers are really high, but they are that's just high. Everybody's damage numbers are high, so I'm not sure if Raider will be good or not. It's difficult to say. Better, I guess. Sorry, no. Sorry, I'm just blabbering to myself. You need to. I'm not used to people being quiet and listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah. We don't always interrupt you.
I don't mind. He'll be usable. I mean, in general, lights are harder to block, so that's going to be nice for him. Although his top lights are still slow as balls and pretty much useless. But yeah, Storming Tap is still a good interruption tool. He's still got hyper armor, still got good damage. But yeah, I don't think he won't. He definitely doesn't benefit as much as some other characters have benefited from the change, at least.
Yeah, agree. I mean, you guys saw Dem play it before.
Dem's great as Raider,
Yeah.
so it's always hard to tell. With
Yeah, still had issues in mid. It's I don't know every hero that's. I mean, he's supposed to clear mid, I guess. Clear mid or ledge someone. But yeah, every hero that's supposed to go mid will have a horrible time come tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So.
I wasn't thinking about Warmonger. Yeah. There are basically mid heroes are. I don't know if people were complaining enough about mid being overpowered, and now mid is just somewhere you just don't want to go. Thanks, Squares gamers. To Scars gamers.
Yeah.
I'm flattered to be considered a big boy. Right, what's the next question?
Breakdown on Aramush. I mean, you saw most of that stuff in Dim's video. His damage is not as obscene as it was, and his what's it called, deadly feints. I mean, they're better now. But how much damage do they do? It's nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, I don't know. He lost with that patch. He's one of the losers, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Because the thing that he benefited from was having like inordinately large damage compared to the rest of the cast, but because damage has been so standardized, he no longer has that benefit. And obviously he's heavier and slower. I mean, I feel like now they're slow enough that they could totally get away with giving him deadly feints on his neutral heavies, which would be a nice compensation buff.
Yeah, I mean, considering how much stamina it takes now, I mean, soft feinting doesn't cost anything, but the cost of lights, and then you threw a heavy beforehand. It's like, what, 24 stamina to get 12 damage in? Like they said, you can't really spam the lights. I mean, that was the goal, and I think that alone would make it completely feasible to give him these deadly feints on the neutral ones, yeah.
Yeah. I will put, by the way, in case anybody wonders, I'm going to put a link in the chat to the Reddit thread with the spreadsheet of the damage numbers. So if you want to see damage numbers yourself, they are in the spreadsheet there. There's some filtered views on them, so you can click on the little link at the top that says just damage, and then just to show you the damage views. Hopefully they all work. It's meant to be. Google Sheets is a bit funny sometimes, but I think the filter views do
They'll
work
understand.
on an individual basis.
Right, next one. Favorite and least favorite parts of the patch. Things that need to be worked on or are where they should be. I mean, stamina on lights is still, I don't know, it's too much. Doubling that cost was too much. And then damage being so high on heavies is just
Yeah, I think those are the least favorite parts.
such
But
a
I mean,
massive thing.
I don't
And I'm
mind it.
disregarding the warmonger completely now.
Yeah,
Like her feet's just another kind of worms. They just leave them be. Everyone should have realized by now. Haven't seen videos, haven't seen the streams. That it's complete nonsense. But yeah.
yeah. But to put some positive things on it, I think there's a lot of the changes that we first. I mean, they don't feel as impactful now because they were the things we saw in the first few testing grounds, but they are still there. You don't not losing all your stamina for one heavy parry. You can use heavies a lot more frequently. Soft feints feel way better because they have no stamina cost now because soft feints work off the whiff cost of things, which is gone. And so soft feints feel way better. A lot of characters which rely on which are almost unreactable in the live game now are pretty much truly unreactable. So Nusha feels way better. Like her traps are some almost unreactable.
I haven't reacted to any of them. Not much I can say.
And they are landing a lot on players. I played a few good reaction players, and the traps are landing way more. They sometimes start lighting me out of them, and then I just start throwing raw heavies, and the raw heavies are landing. So that means they're not doing it on reaction; they're doing it on read. Who else? Like Shaman's dagger cancel is like really scary. Janhu's dodge attacks, which are like because they're always buffered in live, they are free parry to a lot of people, are now always delayed and are really good. Like the dodge attacks work as openers on Janhu, which feels really nice. So those bits are still really good, but it's the fact that we've gone a step backwards on the light stamina cost and the damage numbers, although the damage numbers to me is way worse than the light stamina cost. I feel like they could get away with making lights 12 stamina if they made feints, like regular feints, free, or even if better, if they made feints restore a small amount of stamina, because then feint to light would be, let's say a feint instead of costing 10 stamina gave you back 6 stamina, then you could feint into a light attack and it would be cheaper than on live instead of being more expensive than on live.
All right, next one. Do you get frame advantage on enhanced lights? Warlord, for example, doesn't.
No.
So, is there any enhanced light finishes? Do we have any left?
Well, Yorms.
Oh yeah, no, they don't give.
They don't get frame advantage. There is one enhanced light which does give you frame advantage, and that's Shigoki's.
Oh yeah,
fact,
Goki's.
it gives
Yes.
you more frame advantage now in the core combat update than it does in live, because at least in live you would normally trade with an opponent throwing a light because the hyper armor comes in early enough, but they'd still hit you. Now Shigoki's light has enough frame advantage that they don't even trade anymore.
Yeah, remember when we said something about the singular light spam when they changed it like a couple patches ago? And we said it wouldn't have been a thing in the CCU anyways, but now, yeah.
Yeah, now
it is. I mean, they kind of went back again on it. It's like singular light spam on Goki is a thing.
Yeah, and because you can't punish it with dodge to guard break like you could in the first testing grounds, thanks to the changes to guard break vulnerability, it actually is pretty horrible to deal with. If you can't block the 500 ms lights from neutral as reliably now, you're gonna have quite a horrible time with Shigoki light spam, which is I don't think is a step forward because it's still not viable at the top level. Like I was trying to light spam Dem earlier in our matches with Shigoki, and he was having none of it and just parrying me all the time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he would get mullied if I threw a heavy sometimes, but that's a mix-up in itself. A bit more. But I think if you are having difficulty blocking them and not parrying them at all, it's going to be pretty unpleasant. So I think that's a bit of a step backwards for that.
Yeah. But no, overall, enhanced lights, if it's a finisher, you don't have frame advantage, no.
Yeah.
All right, did Aramush deadly things change significantly? I mean, I think they are unreactable now.
Yeah, they're lower damage. Quite a lot
Most players,
damage.
yes, yeah.
They're 12, which is actually pretty high damage for a 400 millisecond attack. Most 400 millisecond attacks in testing ground in core come update are in the region of 9 or 10 damage. So 12 damage on a soft feint is actually not bad, but it's also not the best either because peacekeepers and shamans soft feints are more damage than that.
All right.
Janhu's dodge light, not Janhu. Jiang Jun's dodge heavy into light soft feint is also 12 damage. So
it's also 12.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably because it's a soft feint, because it's considered like a chain attack, and that's why it goes up.
That could well be the case. Yeah.
All right, another 400 nice. Opinions on PK.
She does not feel nearly as good as she did in the first testing ground
Yeah.
week 2 because they've changed the hit recovery on her dagger cancel significantly. So
Yeah.
currently in live, it's not a chain opener, but she has so much frame advantage on it that it kind of feels a little bit like a chain opener. You can dagger cancel, go straight into a light attack, or go into a heavy attack, and the opponent doesn't have any chance to interrupt you. But now she doesn't have.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Now she doesn't have frame advantage on her dagger cancel at all, which feels really bad.
Yeah. To give you numbers, if you hit your dagger cancel, it takes you 700 milliseconds until you can throw a light again. So the gap between hitting and being able to attack again is 700 ms, which is huge.
It's really, really big, and it feels pretty horrible. Do they change the miss recovery on that at all, or?
No, miss I think is 900. I tested them all. I think I gave you the numbers. Maybe I forgot, but I know I have them somewhere.
For PK's ones, I've still got her miss recovery down as 400, which is not what it is. What feels really bad is that Shaman's dagger cancel. She doesn't have frame advantage enough for a light, enough for a another dagger cancel to beat a light, which she does in live game. But she's got enough that if she chains into a light opener, it will beat your opponent's. Like I think she's got 200 ms frame advantage on her dagger cancel, and obviously it does more damage as well, and it comes from 2 other guard directions, so it's better in every way than Peacekeeper's one, and that feels pretty horrible. But she does have the same recovery in live as she does on Deep Gouge, so you get frame advantage on your heavy finishes even though you end with a light. If that makes any sense.
Deep Gouge feels really good, but the dagger cancel is horrible.
Yeah.
But in the build we have, you currently can't dodge out of the 400 ms light, but apparently that's getting changed. So yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she gets worse. But she doesn't feel nearly as good as last time.
Yeah, to be fair, last time she also had really inflated damage because all the assassins had much higher damage, and now her damage is kind of standardized with everybody else's damage. Like even though her heavies do less base damage, Deep Gouge still does 11 damage on its own, so you end up doing just as much damage as another character. Like, you got like 21 damage top heavy, but that turns into 32 damage. So her guard break punish is the most in the game. That hasn't been changed at all, which we mentioned the first time. But forward dodge attack is really big. It does even more damage than it does in live. But her side dodge attack has gone down significantly, but is still better than dodge lights because they have gone down even more. So yeah, she's I don't know if to say if she's better or worse than on live because
hard to say. I think she's slightly worse actually.
I don't know. I think
I don't know.
More of her stuff is I think at the very top level, her stuff is completely unreactable now, which it wasn't beforehand, and so she'll probably be better at the top level. But at the lower level, where people are already finding it weren't reacting to dagger cancel and weren't reacting to her chain lights at all, I think she's going to be slightly worse.
Yeah, but the thing is, she can't maintain her offense, so you're not going to get spammed down by her. If you're at a level where that's a problem, I mean,
her soft
kind of get counter spammed. I think that's a fair assumption.
Fair enough.
At least that's what I
Should we move on to the
assume.
stamina damage on parry counters.
Yeah, you know all these.
So the stamina damage, some of them are still pretty high. Like in the first testing grounds, they were all about 60 stamina damage. They do half your stamina bar, or they put you out of stamina if they parried a zone attack. And that's still true on some of them, but not all of them. So Warlords and Gladiators still do 60 stamina damage. JJ's one still does 60 stamina damage,
Jesus,
and it
fucking
also
JJ.
knocks you over if it puts you out of stamina. So JJ gets an out of stamina punish on any zone that he parries, which is insane, to be honest. If the zone does more than half your stamina. Whereas Sense one only does 10 stamina damage, which seems bizarre to me. And Yorm's does 30. So Yorm isn't nearly as scary as he was in the first testing grounds. And Sense doesn't really do any stamina damage. Weird. But yeah, they're kind of all over the place. I'm not sure if they've changed them specifically, because obviously Warlords and Gladiators parry counters aren't exactly great, whereas Sense is really good anyway. JJ's would never get a knockdown unless it had the property where it would knock you down if it put you out of stamina, because you're not going to lose any stamina from a regular parry, so therefore you won't ever be out of stamina unless you'd be out of stamina already from throwing it before you get parried. That makes any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Black Inferno has asked, will you do a punish guide for
Yes.
Warmonger?
I mean, obviously, yes, I will do one. But so far what we've seen doesn't seem anything too out of the ordinary. Like the charge punch, sometimes wall splatting. I guess you can mix it up, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Light into top heavy is most of the out of stamina stuff, and yeah, doesn't seem too complicated. But as usual, I'll wait a bit. Maybe someone figures out something completely insane. Who knows? We'll see.
Out of stamina punish into her tier.
Yeah, I don't
tier
know.
1 feet. I guess that.
I guess you can. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it probably is more damage if you get the damage. The regular parry punish will be a light into a top heavy or a zone into a top heavy. But I bet if you parry and then apply your tier 1 and then do just a regular top heavy, and if that's near some minions, it'll probably do more. If you get 2 ticks off it, it does more damage than your regular out of stamina punish would do.
Jesus.
So maybe that's the that's where the depth in her punches comes into. Do you think the game is in a better state now? I would say, if it weren't for Warmonger and her feats in 4s, definitely. But with it's not as good as it was in Testing Grounds Week 2. And overall, it's still better. But with Warmonger running around in matchmaking, it's going to be really horrible without single pick. I mean, I don't know if she ruins the matches with single pick on. They're still fun, but it's a big impact with single pick. And with 4 of them, it's insane. It's not fun.
It's not, no. Especially when you face someone, I don't know, you don't like the guy or something, and then this shit happens, and it's just an overall bad experience, I think.
Yeah.
In matchmaking. Matchmaking will be bad. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're winning a 1v1 in mid, and then it turns into a 2v1, and the Warmonger comes on and just hits you with a light, then suddenly you're just taking 30 damage from your minions being around you. That feels horrible. And it feels horrible being trapped in a zone in the first few minutes of the game because they've already got their tier 1 and you can't get out of the zone and you're just taking loads of damage for that reason. That feels bad too. Yeah. So
nope.
difficult to give a full answer to that if the question is in a better state now. On average, yes, but with specifically Warmonger, no.
I think more frustrating experiences have been added.
Yeah. Right.
We missed one on the Highland defensive heavies doing a lot less damage. Are they any faster?
No, they are the same speed. And his neutral heavies do about the same amount of damage as again, everything's been kind of standardized. So because his defensive chain heavies are so fast, the damage on them is actually quite a lot lower than other chain heavies, but that's because they're 600 milliseconds. So I guess that makes sense, but yeah, that does feel a bit weird. You're always better to use your offensive stance heavies in punishes instead of your defensive chain heavies, which is different to how it performs. And his neutral heavies are quite high damage, but then again, you can't get them on any light parries or anything like that, so that's probably why they're so high damage. They're the same as JJ's as well, I think. Yeah, 34 damage on a 1000 MS heavy. That's just the damage of a 1000 MS neutral heavy.
All right.
So we've got if you are low on stamina and you parry an enemy that is out of stamina, you can do the impale. If
It's
you
the
do
same.
the input's the same. It's just guard break. It's just you would never want to do that on an opponent that you put out of stamina with a parry that's out of stamina, because it's so much less damage than your regular out of stamina punish, and you will always regain enough stamina whilst doing whilst parrying, that you won't need the stamina regain from that you get from doing the out stamina impale. So it's kind of a dead move. Feels a bit stupid, really. Next war. I don't know if are we going to? Am I not answering enough questions fast enough?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So that's one for you, Freeze.
Yeah.
How tuned are damage values? What's best to do amongst feats? Is it really exactly Nusha's infection? Yes, it is Nusha's infection on a tier 1.
Yeah, we tested damage. We even did. How did we do it? I used spectator mode and had 2 people use Nusha's infection and Warmonger's tier 1. And yeah, it's exactly the same. The size is the same, the tick rate is the same, the damage is the same. It is literally a tier 4 feat that's been buffed 2-3 weeks ago, put as a tier 1 feat. It's exactly what they did. Half cooldown?
Yeah, 60-second cooldown versus a 120 seconds.
Or 120. Oh.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, Nusha's infection also got the cooldown on that buffed in the same time. It got buffed damage. Like most tier 3s have 180-second cooldown or 150-second cooldown. So 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes. And hers was 3 minutes. And then it got moved down to 2 minutes. And then now this one is 1 minute. So it's busted. But her damage values on everything else they're high on heavies, but that's the same damage values as every other character's heavies of the same speed, because everything is the same damage wise now. I mean, you can.
Has anyone explained this already? Because I know I did it in my video, but I have not released that video. That if it's a neutral 800 millisecond side heavy,
or any side, it can be top heavy as well,
then the value is the same. This is what they did. They just that's the criteria for it, and that's what they applied. They ignored hitbox, they ignored hype armor, they ignored whatever else. It's just if the attack has that speed and is at that point in the chain, then it does that damage value. So, and Warmonger just follows those rules. And like we said, heavy damage is busted, is way too high. That's, I guess, hers is high as well.
Yeah, so she's got a 900 MS chain heavy on top, so it does 38 damage. But then so does every character with a 900 MS chain heavy, does 38 damage, even if they're unblockable, or some of them.
Or ranged heavy.
There's a few which are outliers, but yeah, that's just the damage they do now. Orochi's top heavy is 900 MS, it's unblockable, and it's 38 damage. So yeah, you can look at the spreadsheet if you want to, but it almost feels like, why do I bother making a spreadsheet with all the individual characters' numbers when they're all so programmatically decided? I mean, there's a very simple pattern to them. I just think there was not a highlighted answer, so I'm not sure I'm allowed to answer this one. But
the PK does. I mean, is it a bug? Is it not?
I think it's actually not a bug, because it does 16 damage total with the bleed, which is about the same damage as Shaman's dodge attack. It's a little bit less than Kensei's and Shaolin's dodge attacks. but it is a lot more than any light dodge attack, which all do much less because light attacks have been nerfed more than heavy dodge attacks have been.
Rawit has a question.
Right, that's the question.
Do you think the
Well-
game will change at high level with these new changes?
He doesn't. He just said change the way the game is played at all.
Oh, and then the
Yes.
highlighted one is at high level. I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
they
but
will be changed.
what confused me with you as well, that you went back to live during the early access period.
Yeah.
That you even did that. That just says the difference can't be that big.
Oh, it was definitely noticeable.
I mean, yeah, sure, but
like
that
and-
even did it. No, I cannot.
yeah, like the stamina changes on parries and blocked.
I mean, that is just
that was the most noticeable, and it was the most noticeable in the first test of ground. It's very noticeable here. Like at the high level, Rohit, obviously, I'm not really qualified to say
me
if the
neither.
game will be played differently at high level. I mean,
But to be honest, you guys picked completely different characters. Like, I think the Goki picks were actually serious picks. That wouldn't happen on the live version, right? You just
Yeah.
considered someone's trolling.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like definitely the meta characters are going to switch around. I feel like Nusha's going to be a pick, possibly. But I obviously don't want to predict what things exactly going to change. But yes, the high level will change, and I think a lot of like borderline reactable things are now fully unreactable. So I think that makes quite a big difference at high level. But again, I can't really comment with certainty because I'm not a high level player myself. As anybody who watched Dems and Freeze's streams earlier will know, I'm actually very bad. I just know numbers and have lots of time.
Don't talk yourself down.
Some dodge attacks still count as light parries. Yes, they do. That hasn't changed. Every attack that counted as a light parry beforehand, light attack still does. So Jianhu's dodge attacks still count as light parries, even though they're heavies. And every other dodge light is still a light parry. Every other dodge heavy is still a heavy parry. Even though there is now literally no disadvantage to having a heavy parry, a heavy dodge attack. It doesn't cost you any more stamina on parry. It just is better in every way. So dodge light attacks are straight downgrades from dodge heavy attacks, and they, as well as doing less damage, they're just worse in every way, which is used to be at least say that you could justify them on the stamina cost, but you can't anymore. They're the same, just bad. All right, how about high ping play? High ping is still going to be a problem. It's going to be a bit better for people who have like a little bit high ping, but for people who have really high ping, it's just going to be still as bad. Like instead of it, I think in live the amount of total latency that the game can deal with is 100 milliseconds because of the 33 milliseconds on input delay on offensive attacks, and then 66 ms of lag compensation. And that is going to go up to 133 ms of total latency because you've got the 100 ms of lag compensation essentially with the indicator changes. But if the person's got more than 133 ping, you're going to notice still. So it's going to be. It isn't really a fix for that. It's a band-aid that makes it less obvious, but it's still definitely going to be a problem. Did they change heat? Unless you want to comment on that, Freeze?
Where were we?
About high ping.
High ping. I mean, the thing is, usually when someone has a really high ping, it's not just the connection being slow. It's usually just so far away you're from a country that doesn't have the best internet usually, and that means you're going to drop packets. You're going to spike with your ping. I think none of that is being compensated for, so it's still a bad experience overall. The only upside to it is, I mean, you will be unreactable to the high ping players as well, at least hopefully now. Well, it's harder because that is a problem on life now. Like you have a good connection and your whatever attack you throw out, they can easily parry, but their attacks are just all over the place, and you will have problem reacting to them. But yeah, I mean that will be a little bit better, but people are still gonna show weird animations, like stutter around, guard break after you started the heavy already, and all that kind of stuff. That's still going to be a thing.
Yep, I've definitely seen a few people already like. I think it was a thread on the main subreddit where a player from the Middle East talking about how it felt way worse and he couldn't block things on in the testing grounds, and he's a bit worried about their core combat update for that reason. And I kind of feel like you're going to be having the same experience that everybody against you was having already in live. That's the reason your attacks are landing so much nowadays. It's not because everybody else is really bad. It's because your attacks appear faster. Although I didn't say that because I thought it'd be a bit mean. So now just repeat it to like 100 people live on air or whatever. Did they change healing feats? Yes, they did. Healing feats have been nerfed across the board, although not every single one of them. Some of the worst healing feats haven't been touched. So regenerate is still the same. Champion's aura, that's Highlander's unique healing feat, is still the same, and actually heals more now than than Stalwart Banner, but over a longer period of time. And Soothing Mist is still the same, but all the other healing feats are nerfed. Probably, I'd say about like 2/5 the amount. I mean, Second Wind's gone down from 50 to 30, and I think that's proportional with most other healing feats. Would you say so, Freeze?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, it shouldn't cleanse and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, they still clean. They still clean bleed and damage over time, which is probably I think that's probably personally I thought that was a bigger issue than the actual amount they healed beforehand. So, but I guess it's better. Just it doesn't feel quite right. But all the feat changes. Fargo, in the spreadsheet, there's a tab which has all the other changes. It's mostly just healing feats and also traps, which no longer stun or put you out of stamina.
I mean, a lot of the shield feats also.
Oh yeah, shield feats.
Like Protected Revive, for example, lost the hyper armor.
Yeah, and it only gives you a shield for 15 seconds. Protected Revive is worthless now.
Is there any shield left that's infinite? Not right. They removed them all. They all put a timer on them now, right?
Yeah, I think there's a timer on all of them. Well, pick up buffs, I guess. But they're not infinite anyway. They just got very long cooldown.
Yeah.
Maybe does Tiandi's tier? No, I think Tiandi's tier 4 does have a limit as well. But it's quite a long one. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, yeah. But they basically put a cooldown, a time limit on all shields.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable. But I mean, because Protected Revive having like a full health shield for the entire rest of the match until you die, until it's removed, it was a bit overpowered if you got the revive. But having it reduced to 15 seconds is ridiculous, and the removal of the hyper armor on it as well is just you can't use it to revive in mid anymore. So you can't use it to revive in pikeman. You can't use it to revive, as you're dying to save someone else instead of you, which I've used a few times. So it's basically just remove that feat. Might as well not be in the game. Any Jianhu or Tiandi? Oh yeah, do you want to? Sorry, I don't want to move on. If you want to say more about feats,
no, that's fine. I mean, there's so many small changes. Just wait for the patch notes and just check them. I'm not remembering them all, anyways. But
a lot of the damage, like the damage percentage feats, like damage if they reduce damage by, for example, Spirit Shroud, like the Hitakiri's tier 3. Has gone down to 15% damage reduction on execution rather than 20%, and that applies to quite a lot of them as well. Hard to kill, tough as nails is a health HP boost, but that's gone down to 10%. Tough as nails is essentially worse than bulk up, which is a perk. So yeah. Questions: Jianhu or Tiandi changes? You can dodge Tiandi's chain lights now. That's it really. Tiandi feels a lot better too, in my opinion.
I haven't played it.
Oh, well, I think that feels better. You still get hit out of the dodge attacks, but that's okay. Spaniard is such a little bitch. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Should we go down to the next? Any more highlighted questions?
Have a timeout. I'm on.
Pardon?
Have a timeout, I said.
Oh, okay. I mean, he's right, but How is Nabooshi under the new changes? Nabooshi is one of these weird ones in that the damage has been standardized on everybody, regardless of any other context on the moveset. But so Nabushi's damage with her damage buff from her inbuilt bleed wave the shark thing is really high. It's like insane actually. And also on her chain lights in live they're slightly lower damage because you get the guaranteed bleed poke afterwards. But in this version they are the same damage as every other chain 500 millisecond light, which is 13. But they also give you a 13 damage bleed thing as well, so they are really high damage. In fact, we're going to see a lot more complaints about Nabooshi light spam because
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
going to be harder to block, and they do way more damage now. So yeah, I don't know if you were watching Nutella earlier, but he Nabooshi light spammed me down very very quickly with the.
Yeah, same.
It's gonna feels bad, man. But yeah, that's one of the weird outliers that I imagine they'll want to nerf her chain light damage to make it. The
Console
bleed.
just needs to cry long enough, then it'll
Yeah.
happen. No worries. They'll nerf her too. Freeze
Yeah.
hates console playing. uh,
Stamina pause on most bashes, yes. Stamina pause has not been touched at all. It's the same, and it still feels really bad if you get in the corner with against Warmonger. It's a very bad time for you. Yeah.
where's the stamina pause? Where am I? Stamina. Oh, all the
So I
way.
just scrolled down, and I thought I'd scroll back up again rather than going down. So I wasn't sure if I was like half an hour behind the questions or if I was just.
You'd love if Nusha becomes good. Yeah, Nusha will be good.
Yeah, Nusha feels way better. I really like Nusha now. Her damage is in the first testing grounds was almost a bit too much, and now it's kind of standardized. Her traps do 24 damage instead of 28, but it's still good. And yeah, I don't think Nusha's going to be a good character. And obviously if she gets her tier 4 feat, her tier 1 feat that's a tier 4 feat, has good synergy with Warmonger. What else we got? It's quite a long question here.
I mean, yeah, I'm just confused about the damage standardization. No, you can expect damage on heavies to be a little higher.
Yeah.
Overall. Not just from the last testing ground, but from life.
Yeah. Some characters like Shaolin, Valkyrie, a few other characters, Shaman, Centurion, their heavies are all much higher than on live because they have fast heavies or have heavies that are lower damage because of extra properties, but they are now much higher damage. So Shaolin's damage has gone up on everything apart from his light openers, which are rubbish and 36 stamina. What else we got?
I think PK is better or worse or the same. I think she's pretty much a side grade. But yeah, like we said, I don't know. I'd like to wait until I see someone who's actually good with a player. Maybe, I don't know, Setmix can pull a rabbit out of his ass. I don't know. I'm not. I don't think he can. Nothing against Setmix. It's just PK. I think the recovery is gonna bother everyone so much.
It's definitely going to bother people. I mean, the funny thing is that it's pretty much where her dagger cancel was a long time ago. In fact, immediately after her rework, her first rework, like back in season 6, the dagger cancel had a really long recovery on it. And then they reduced that and made it feel a lot better. But they've just gone back to that original value by the feel of things. So I guess if people liked PK beforehand, and I know Setmix did always played PK a lot, she will probably feel sort of not too dissimilar to how she used to be, but with some of the improved aspects still there. What's the other one? So yeah, I don't know. I think she is better, but not much. It's not really a decisive answer. I guess we'll see. See how it goes.
More. Yeah, I think more characters will be viable overall.
Yeah. I think the gap between the best characters and the worst characters, other than Orochi, who's just worse in every way, is going to go up. The gap's going to get a bit smaller because again, you got the things that were borderline unreactable, borderline viable beforehand, and now up fully unreactable and much more viable. The damage ratio of light attacks to heavy attacks, so if you get, is still pretty out of whack, and if you get light parried, it's going to hurt a lot, especially on 400 millisecond lights, which are very low damage now. You easily, basically if you get your second light parried as a Nusha, every single character is going to be able to do 3 times the damage that you would have done on a light parry, and many of them will do more. Like Black Prior with his 35 damage light parry punish, or against Highlander, he's still got 37 damage light parry punish. So you need to land 4 chain lights as Nusha against Highlander. If he can parry a single one, he's up in damage, which is pretty stupid. There's a question here about how's your personal opinion on frame advantage on light finishes? I think it's actually a nice change. I think thinking about frame advantage is not something that most players have ever had to do that much in For Honor, and it's not such a big disadvantage if you lose frame advantage on your finishes that it feels bad. But I think and obviously it does help with light spam that you can counter spam, as it were. But I think it's a nice change even at higher level play because it gives you something else to think about, which I personally think is nice. But what do you think, Freeze?
I talked with Froggy about that yesterday, right? Was it yesterday? I'm not sure on the disadvantage. I think neutral would be fine as well. They're trying to combat one very specific thing with it. And they're going to stick to that. It's not going to change. Light finishes will never be frame advantaged. That just won't happen, no matter what we think, no matter how much we complain. It's just, it's not going to happen, no matter how we feel about it. But I don't think it's necessarily bad to be frame disadvantaged there. It's not such a huge deal.
And I think it's definitely worth it, even if it is slightly bad. It's definitely worth it to be frame advantaged on heavy finishes, because that feels really good. Like it feels nice to be able to, you don't want to throw out lights all the time. So you throw out a heavy, because to be unpredictable, and the heavy gets blocked as it inevitably will do. But you can still carry on after that, and you don't lose any stamina from having the heavy blocked. So that feels a lot better. And you can light heavy and then go into another light opener, and that feels way better than before. And I think that's definitely worth it. Having the frame disadvantage on light finishes. You also get frame disadvantage on light finishes against most bashes as well. So Black Prior, Conqueror, other characters which have. I did test. I can't remember if Warlord's stab still gets frame advantage. I don't think it does anymore on his headbutt.
Is it neutral?
Is it neutral?
I'm not sure.
I will double check.
The thing is, we test on live, we test on early access, and then it's just one big blur because you try to compare. I keep forgetting what it is.
On live, you get frame advantage on his headbutt stab. You don't get enough advantage for another headbutt to not be interrupted, but your light will beat an opponent's light. And I did check the frame advantage on the stab here, and I'm pretty sure. I just put it in a random Word document. Oh no, you do still get it on his headbutt stab, so that is the same.
Is it? Okay.
So, but against other characters with fast bashes, you get frame advantage afterwards, which is useful to be able to interrupt their next bash if they're going to do another bash. And that feels nice, just because it makes it a bit more interesting. Who is best Orochi and why is it Nusha? Yes.
You think it's Nusha, really?
Well, no. Who is best Orochi and why is it Nusha? Orochi's terrible.
Where did I see that?
Orochi's really bad. Like, there is nothing that Orochi can do that Kensei can't do.
Question again.
There was the question about who is the best assassin, but who is the best Orochi and why is it neutral? That was funny. Yeah, Orochi is just worse Kensei. Has the same lights, He has no hyper armor, he has no soft feints, he has no bash, he has worse dodge attacks, he has less health, he has reflex guard, he has worse feats, he has dodge cancels. Big deal. He has a worse zone attack. Yeah, he's just bad. And obviously you can early dodge his unblockable and avoid feint to guard break, which is really stupid. And they'll probably fix that soon, I'd imagine, but it's still dumb that it will release like that. But who is the best assassin? What do you think, Freeze?
I think it's Zerker.
I think so.
I mean,
It's funny because we haven't seen much Zerker in.
Fighting better.
Yeah, you can make Barrow happy. Zerker's definitely better.
Yeah, but yeah, Shaman still good. High damage on her now. But I think Zerker overall, yeah.
That's interesting because we didn't really see much.
No, we didn't see much. But like he's just, I don't know. I think he has the best light offense.
Yeah, probably. His post feint lights actually do quite a lot of damage for 400 ms lights.
It's just so stamina intensive. That's the thing. But if they lower that, we'll see. Yeah, I think it's Zerker.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think he's because he was meta for such a long time. People sort of got used to him and then sleep on him now. But I think he's going to be fully unreactable. So I think a lot of his benefits he's still going to be very good. I think people will still at least amongst the top level players, they can still use their learned knowledge against Zerker in the past. They just can't really react to him as much anymore. Although some players can still react to Parry Flash. I'm not sure if that helps them react to 400 ms lights anymore as much as it does for feints. But yeah, Zerker's zone was massively overnerfed though. It does 12 damage, which is pretty rubbish.
Which is unsafe on block.
Yeah, it's unsafe on block, and it does less damage than any other zone, pretty much, apart from Peacekeepers, which is still a light attack, even though it's 11 damage and 500 ms. It's like they didn't change that one. They changed the damage numbers and then they nerfed it to 400 to 500 ms and just left the damage numbers the same. That's bad. That's something PK does lose actually. So I wasn't really thinking about her zone when I was talking about Peacekeeper earlier being better or worse than on live. And actually, with the loss of the zone, that is a big viability nerf. Actually, I don't know why that didn't occur to me. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, like her zone still being a light Parry is
really
questionable.
Very questionable. If it was a heavy Parry, it'd be real. If it was a heavy in general, it would be a really good tool because she faints so quickly after it that even with light hit stun, if it was enhanced, you can.
I think that would be a problem. They change it to a heavy, and all of a sudden they'd have to change the hit stun as well, and they probably forget. And
it's
not an infinite again, and it's.
I don't know. You can. It would be light. It's light hit stun. You can change it to being an enhanced light essentially. So they can make it heavy, give a heavy parry, be chain on block, but still have light hit stun. Like there are some heavies which have light hit stun. I mean,
look at Jean Hu. We also have a heavy input count as a light stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely possible. I'm just saying, chances are they might.
But if it was like a heavy and it wasn't stopped on block, it would actually be quite a nice tool for putting yourself at frame advantage, like Centurion Zone currently is. Although Centurion Zone is another one that got a damage nerf way more than it should do. Like it does 8 damage per hit now, which is way too low. I don't know why Centurion Zone is so low.
I mean, it's in line with Conks, I guess.
Yeah, but Conks has like the full block.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, that's not. It's a speed of the attack, isn't it?
But then other zones are 600 ms. And
dude, I don't know. I'm just at this point I stopped questioning
it. Fair enough. I mean, most 600 ms zones in this build are 14 damage. And most 500 ms zones are 13 damage. But for some reason, Centurions is 8 damage. I think it might be that they thought 8 damage per hit, and they thought maybe the first 2 hits are guaranteed or something. I don't know, but they aren't, and it shouldn't. That's all I can say from that. Like,
JJ being a better George now with the stem drain. Sure, after a parry, sure. Otherwise, no.
yeah. I still feel I did play a bit of George in duels, and it feels like on live that you can't get him out of you can't get people out of stamina if they don't want to get out of stamina. You can't get them out of stamina.
I played him in one match today. It felt all right.
In
Just
fours,
because
people
because
attack
others, yeah, bash him.
and they're like less careful about putting themselves out of stamina if you run into a fight and they've put themselves at low stamina already. But in a duel scenario, you're not getting anybody out of stamina. Although I played a best of 9 with Rohit as Yorm against I think it was against Valkyrie or can't remember. And I actually did win that one. But I didn't put him out of stamina once. I did put him out of stamina once, but I didn't get Hammer Slam off him. So, and maybe Rohit will tell me if I actually forgot. I'm misremembering, and I didn't win or something. It was the only one where I didn't go like 5-0. So I count that as a win. And it was his like basic offense of enhanced light attacks and fainting unblockables into lights and undodgeable light attacks. They all work better now. But putting somebody out of stamina in order to get a big punish on them, that just didn't happen. I couldn't get it. I'd put myself out of stamina before I put Rohit out of stamina.
The thing is, like I said in the stream before, at the beginning, I think George will do better because people underestimate how much 12 stamina actually is for lights. They will, like, if they're just watching the fight and go by feel how much stamina they have, and all of a sudden they realize, oh, it's much lower than I thought.
Yeah.
George will do fine at the beginning, but I think after a few weeks, people will have adjusted and George will drop off.
Yeah, and I think this is what I sort of felt in the duel scenario. In a duel, when you're fighting Yorm, you're paying close attention to your stamina because you know you can't have stamina. And if you're paying close attention to your stamina, Yorm won't put you out of stamina. You just can't really. I think nobody realized with this. Well, people did realize, but with the stamina pause that used to be 3.5 seconds on Yorm's bashes, and at 2 seconds stamina pause, essentially you've lost 45 stamina damage, effective stamina damage on it, because that's how much stamina you regenerate in 1.5 seconds. So the nerf, not only do they nerf the stamina damage that he does on his bashes, they nerf the effective stamina damage he can do on his bashes dramatically, to the extent that I think it's just impossible to put somebody out of stamina. We actually did test with wall splats for Yorm, and he puts himself out of stamina before he puts you out of stamina. If you like wall splat into heavy feint, into bash, so you wall splat, bash, heavy feint, wall splat, bash again. You put yourself out of stamina before they go out of stamina, which is pretty stupid.
Right, next one. How would CCU help Warlord players like me? I don't know, Warlord has the same spot as before. He's a team fighter. How much is his zone, by the way?
His zone is 14 damage, so his zone is big nerf on his zone.
Yes.
I think he will be less dominant than he was before, but his core like kit is better in terms of being unreactable, and I think 500 ms enhanced lights are pretty viable.
I got my lights parried so much against them today.
Yeah, but Dan was parrying lights. But he was also eating raw heavies, so he's getting mullied by them quite easily. So if you're like Dem, I think
I had trouble 1v1 in a Warmonganda. Warmonganda. It's too many expressions. Can't keep up.
3 characters. Yeah.
Yeah. How does Centurion feel? He's even stronger now.
Yeah. Centurion is like as he does damage as easily as he did beforehand, if not better, because his bash is hard to react to. his kick, but he does more damage now. So yeah, 40 damage unblockable heavies are really quite something. They do more damage than Hitakiri's charged heavies, and he has a punch mix up afterwards. Yeah, it's nuts. Centurion's very, very strong, and will definitely still be meta in
Yeah, definitely.
some comp wars as well, for that matter.
Is he the strongest character now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you got Warmonger is very, very strong with that.
I mean, I don't know. I'm disregarding that
We
thing.
assume that Warmonger's feats, her tier 1 at least, will be banned, because it's going to be. If we take Warmonger's feats out of the question, I think she is not as strong as Centurion. But she can punish bashes where he can't. So, I don't know. Like, Centurion's still definitely one of the best characters in the game.
Yeah.
Good, which is good for him, because he's been at the bottom for such a long time. At least we get to be the incredibly Roman man. Did they improve the recovery of Raiders' moveset? They improve the recovery on block and on hit. So if you throw out your heavy finishers and they get blocked, you won't be punished as much. You still will be punished if you're not careful, but if you hit somebody with them, you're not gonna immediately die because of hitting somebody in a team fight. But the miss recoveries are still the same, so they haven't been improved in that sense. If people dodge your attacks, you'll still get heavily punished for them. This one. Do you think they should this game start all over again? No, because they're so close to getting it right. The last testing grounds was really good with the damage numbers, and I feel like even if they kept the light stamina, if they only just increased the stamina cost of light attacks in this version, and they kept the damage numbers from the last version and fixed some of the outliers, I think that would be a really, really, really good version of the game. But because they reverted the...
I think that's what we expected, to be honest.
I mean, I wouldn't expect
it. What I thought I'd get, and then I opened the game for the first time. It was like, what are these numbers? Did they forget to patch this?
Yeah.
I was like...
And then you showed me like, oh yeah, what's the character? She got Nucha's tier 4 as a tier 1.
Yeah.
I did the surprise blinking gif. Gladiator's Zone is still 14 damage, but he does get the damage buff from Haymaker. So overall it's 20 damage from 19 damage from Haymaker with his zone, which is very good. And it's still very safe, so it's good still. Toe stab is really low damage. Actually, that's something that's kind of stupid. Toe stab does it's the 6 damage on its own, which is, I mean, with Haymaker as well, it's fine, but on its own, 6 damage feels really stupidly low. Personally, I'd prefer if they just left it at 10 damage and made it so that Haymaker doesn't affect it. Or, I mean, even if Haymaker did affect it, it's not that big a deal to have a 15 damage bash in the testing grounds in this version of the game. So I don't know why they nerfed that one. So 6 damage, it just feels really stupid. But there are a lot of like damage numbers which feel like they just overlooked, or would have been okay from the last testing grounds, but then they made heavies more damage and feels so. For example, a Lawbringer's Blind Justice does 21 damage on the actual parry counter, and then you get 6 damage from the guaranteed light afterwards, which is 27 damage, which if they had kept the heavy damage low, like it was in the previous testing grounds, or maybe even lower, that would be fine as a light parry punish. I think people would be happy if 27 damage was the upper end of light parry punishes. But because they've made his neutral heavies way more damaging, you actually just wait, delay it, do a regular top heavy, and you get 32 damage from that. So so that's what I mean about some damage numbers that feel really out of place. Deflects, another one. Like, they all do in the region of 20 damage, which is really low, considering how much damage a regular heavy does. But if all the regular heavies did a more appropriate damage, they would feel fine at 20 damage.
Yeah. I mean, the Lawbringer punish them had in the video.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. By the way, I lost where we are. With the...
Oh, sorry. I kind of just. I think we've run out of highlighted questions.
Yeah, the highlighted ones again. I mean, Dead's asked.
Oh no, how is
Is
Kensei's
Orochi's unblockable cool though? Is it? You've seen Havoc's thumbnail, right? The unblockable one. That's how cool it is.
It's a very cool unblockable.
If only it was that cool. Yeah. I don't know. Has Havoc released that video yet? Because that thumbnail looks amazing.
Thumbnail doesn't. It's a very cool thumbnail.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to get almost as many clicks as if it was a picture of like boobs or something, which I think is the way to get optimal YouTube clicks.
Is that how the algorithm works?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you put boobs in the thumbnail and you get 1 million clicks,
Mm.
that's how it goes.
I'll
So
try.
they don't have to be in the video; they just have to be in the thumbnail. But I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't really know.
I'll try next time.
Somebody asked, how is Kensei in 1v1s? Kensei is definitely better in 1v1s because his feints in general are much harder to react to, and he has to use, his unblockable finisher is much better for that reason. His light attacks in general are better, although still, not great. His guard break damage has gone up for some insane reason. They made chain heavies all more damage than neutral heavies, and because Kensei's guard break goes into his chain heavy, it does 34 damage on a guard break, which is ridiculous. He's still easy to interrupt his top heavy, presumably, but you're going to have to be more careful about his lights, so I think that'll make his top heavy harder to interrupt as a sort of trade-off, maybe, just because of being more careful. And his dodge attack is still really good. It's 18 damage, which is way more than dodge light attacks, which will do like 10 damage or 11 damage. And it's a heavy parry, so it's great. Yeah. So he's better in duels. He's still not like a top tier duelist by any means. But he's definitely better. So if you do well with Kensei in duels, normally you're going to do better after these changes. The Havoc's video is already on 10k views, so yeah, it's working its magic.
Did they change Demon's Embrace recovery? No, they did not. Did they improve the recovery for Aegis moves? Yeah, that we answered.
Yeah, Demon Shigoki's recoveries on his regular heavies feel much better, and he's also got proper frame advantage on his lights. So Shigoki light spam is a thing now. Shigoki's definitely feels a lot better, and I think a lot of people have been playing him in scrims, which is nice to see, at least, see him actually being used by competitive players, so that's nice.
Oh, there's a whole question about Goki.
Was this another question?
Yeah, heavies will do more damage. Recovery on the heavies is better, but yeah, he just, like I said in the other stream, it just feels like you're not a sitting duck after using this moveset. Like you're not so afraid of using your charged heavies or heavies in general in a team fight.
And because you're not using the hug in a team fight anyway, that doesn't play into it nearly as much. So he's a much better team fighter now. He still is quite easy to outspace, because you can't catch up to people if you're in like a 2v1 as Shigoki and the opponent is dodging away from you around your ally. It's going to be really hard to catch the guy. But in a team fight where they have to come to you, he feels much better. And the few matches that I played with Shigoki in the streams earlier, I won, and those are the only ones in which I won. So I was on the winning team. So clearly Shigoki is OP. Please nerf. His damage is insane, of course.
Yeah, his damage is really really strong.
His charged heavies finishers have actually gone up in damage on some of them. I think they do 40 on the sides, and they do 44 now. His demon, what's it called? Demon Ball, the guard break punish, has gone up to 29.
29, yeah.
But that is the same as everybody else's. And it still has super armor on it, so you still get punished for using it in a team fight. You can get heavy if it, as you saw Dem's video earlier, you can get heavy if it hits the wall. But actually, that is a thing in live on reflex guard characters at least. So
yeah, I just don't know how we've never found that one.
Never noticed, yeah. Well,
so weird.
Yeah, if you are a static guard character and you get guard broken, and you move your guard to the left before he hits you with the demon ball, he can't get the heavy on you, but he can if you don't move it that side before it hits you. I made a video I recorded with Magila to some clips I need to upload to the subreddit, which I was intending to do today, but I've been busy with all this stuff. So
I can do it all night.
Yeah, so I'll do it eventually. It'll get there.
Yeah. All right, Declan Keegan question. Yeah, I saw that tweet. He posted one where it's like his big cornerstones of his career. I don't know. People have to speculate. I don't think he's doing anything in that regard, to be honest. It's just a completely new IP he's on. I don't think he's on a For Honor 2 or on a... I don't think they're going to re-release For Honor with a new gen. I don't know.
You don't think they will?
No, like Overwatch did this re-release of the game. I don't think they will.
Like Overwatch 2, kind of like a...
Yeah, like you keep everything. They just re-release. I don't know how it worked exactly. I don't
They had more content in it. Like, I think it's going to be backwards compatible, right? Like...
Yeah. No, that's all games have to be.
Yeah. So I guess in that case you'll be able to play it on new consoles. But
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think
cross-platform. I mean, sure, that's going to be a thing. But I don't think gaming is doing anything in that regard.
I think you're right. I don't think it makes sense for them to be like, as much people talk about For Honor 2, I don't think it makes sense for them to. They'd have to like scrap so much. If they are rebuilding it completely from scratch, then they're losing so much of the stuff they've added over the time. So I don't think it makes sense for that. I mean, I don't think I even want a For Honor 2 just yet. Like, especially if we don't get to keep all our stuff. Like, I want my like. I almost made to rep 400, and I don't want to have to like go from zero again.
It's just...
I
mean, before For Honor, if even any, but yeah, it's gonna be like they're gonna stop giving patches and stuff, and then maybe you can speculate. But it's in the middle of the life cycle. We still have a character coming. They're not gonna like release a character and 3 months later they're gonna release For Honor 2. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. If we see a For Honor 2, it will be after a significant amount of time after the For Honor 1 has stopped being updated. Like, just looking at how they're doing with their other titles and how just the game industry in general, I don't think they would do. Because it kind of like it's a big investment to make a new game, and if they're all, whereas it's much smaller in terms of costs to keep on adding content to an existing game, so you'd think that they would just keep on doing that if it's making a profit. Question about
stamp cost back to the old version. I think they're gonna lower it, but back to 6, doubtful.
Yeah, I don't think they will be back to 6. I'm not sure if they even will lower it. I would, and to be honest, I kind of understand. Like, I don't think light spam of finger quotes is a problem. Obviously, it's not a problem at high level, but I do understand that they get a lot of complaints about it, and so I understand them wanting to do something about those complaints, even if I think it's somewhat futile to alter the balance when they should instead be improving the learning tools so people can get better rather than having to stay bad. But so I don't think they will decrease the light stamina cost from 12, but I do hope they improve stamina in some other way. For example, well, like I said about feints being free or cheaper, or even regenerating stamina, which would, I think that would compensate without making it like without them having to walk back changes they've already done, which they tend to not do. I can't really think of many occasions where they've made a balance change and then reverted the balance change in a subsequent patch, unless it was like an accidental change. Can you think of anything like this?
Trying to think now. But yeah, I mean, it's not an official patch just yet.
Yes, that's true.
We'll see.
Hey, Nutella. Hello. Ready with a party of 10.
Yeah. There was a Nabooshi question out there.
Yes, what?
How we think they should change it. You feel free to hop on and answer that one if you want.
Yeah. I could give my suggestions for Nabooshi from the dev. I think her hidden stance light should be 400 milliseconds, like straight up, none of this hidden indicator stuff. And then give her an unblockable top heavy and undodgeable side heavy from a hidden stance and her chains. And then I think
Undodgeable. Huh.
yeah, because then you dodge the lights on prediction, and then the undodgeable side heavy would catch you. I think that's my thoughts anyway. So that's what I think she needs, and tweaking some of her recovery dodge cancel stuff so that it feels clunky, as they do now, like just reducing them by 100 milliseconds or so here and there.
Yeah, trim it down by 100 ms. That's pretty much what I'd say. An unblockable somewhere. Second half of the zone has to go or turn into a UB with a lot of stuff in potential. I prefer it just leaves. Yeah. Undodgeable, unblockable, 400 ms lights from hidden stance. Make hidden stance unGBable once all iframes ends after a dodge timing. Yeah, that's what I would suggest for it.
I don't think you need that, like that change with the guard break stuff, because like you can already, if somebody comes into, like, none of the other stances in the game have let you counter guard break, but a lot of them have options which you can beat a guard break out on prediction. So if you're standing in a hidden stance and somebody's going to come and guard break you, you can kick them on prediction, and then that's going to beat that.
I'm well aware, but it's still better to reward someone for actually sitting in, a place where they have no guard or something.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
You don't have
I
a
don't
guard.
think it's that bad, seeing as you can dodge out of it as well. So
I don't think you need a dodge forward kick, and I think kick should be slowed down and made feintable.
yeah, I would prefer a feintable kick, actually. If it was like her original kick, I think the release was 700 milliseconds, right?
Yeah.
And I think if it was 700 milliseconds, but you could soft feint it into a dodge after 400 milliseconds, that would be kind of cool. And it would be a different mix-up to, like, it'd be similar to Tiandi's kick mix-up, but different. And people get tired of, like, just make her bashes fast.
I mean,
Like, it is a bit boring to have another character with a 500 millisecond chain bash. Like, even if it does work, it's nice to have more variety.
There's also the additional caveat of Nabooshi being a character who wall splats with bash. So
yes, that's true.
Now it would be an infinite, so they either have to remove that, which is sad to see go, or, do some fuckery and add some delays, which would probably make it feel awful anyways. So yeah, feintable bash is what I want.
Dodge forward kick. Like fucking, I don't know, karate kick, flying through the air.
She doesn't need that.
I don't like. I think people, and I think it's one of these things that people complain about as well. Like, people don't like neutral bashes as much, and the neutral bashes, especially like the fastest ones, like BPs and conks and.
When it comes to neutral bashes, they should all have the 300 ms like Cent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I might say 200 ms instead of 300 ms, but
we could play with it and
removing the bash option select.
Yeah, bash option selects need to go.
We can
I would do it with the 300 ms.
It would
use the funny thing called testing grounds. Test them out.
Yeah. I don't think it would make the characters significantly worse. I think it would just make them just a little bit less obnoxious for some players.
You should be able to react on dodge forward.
Yeah, I think if it's going to be an unreactable mix-up, I think you should have like the ability to know that that a mix-up is coming that you need to then make a prediction on. And if it's just that, I think the issue with like very fast bashes is that they are unreactable, and for some people they're unreactable on movement completely. So they've basically got a neutral unreactable mix-up.
How many send kicks were landing in these scrims?
A lot.
Send kicks.
Yeah.
So most on me, but then I guess it's hard for me to say.
Kicks,
I mean, we'll see. It's basically let's just wait and see how many send kicks will land, and then we can, I guess, adjust if if that's the thing they want to do. But I mean, you have it in the game already. They can look at the number. How many more cent kicks are landing now compared to, I don't know, BP bashes or something?
Mm. I mean, cent kicks are landing in 1v1s in competitive Dominion. If you see like the top players playing it, they land there as well. So
yeah, I mean, they still
That's in
land less
volume,
than the other bashes with 100
That is
MS
true.
the Dodge startup. It's just,
But-
I mean, they can look at the numbers now, and then if it's something they want to do, it's not like they need to specifically even test. I mean, they have the one instance in the game already.
Yeah, do you think they have that kind of granularity that you can look at each individual move and see how much it lands? I know they showed that.
Yes, they did. They nerfed PK side dodge heavy in season 1 because the damage percentage of PKs, the dodge side heavy, the damage percentage overall was too high. Like PK did too much damage overall with that move. So if they have that granularity, they have the other one as well, I'd say.
Yeah, fair enough.
But this is the
Something they
only
didn't show.
time they actually mentioned the nerf in a move because of that kind of data they had.
Mm.
So
Well,
ever
in the
since
recent
then,
one,
they've
they
never
showed about,
mentioned it.
like, yeah, they showed like 55% of lights that landed or something.
Yeah,
like
that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I'm sure they have it for that kick too. And if they think it's okay, I mean, or if the other one just goes through the roof now, like how many conk bashes land now?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think they're anymore. Won't go up significantly, I think.
Someone's asked, how would I solve the mess Orochi will be tomorrow? What are your changes, Freeze?
I don't know. I just not nerf the lights.
Yeah, I just
Let's
hope.
I mean, give him the unblockable and don't nerf the lights.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, I think they aren't going to un-nerf Orochi's lights
No, they're not.
because
I reckon
people
they'll-
like. I mean, the thing is, these changes they actually improve lights for every other character for 100 MS lights. And if they really thought they wanted to get rid of light spam across the cast, they would be nerfing everybody's lights. But they
Yeah.
aren't. They aren't. They're only nerfing Orochi, and they're only nerfing Orochi because he's the most visible light spammer. So I don't think they can go backwards and make them 400 MS again. In which
No.
case, I think they should do other things for him, and they could give. I personally think they should give Orochi the Berserker treatment and make his lights after a feint be faster, because then they've still got fast lights, but they have to be after a feint. And people who complain about light spam think that feinting is like the biggest
mix up.
mix up ever. So who's going to complain about fast mix ups? So that would be something they could do. And I think they should make his unblockable finisher 700 MS again. I don't think they needed to make it slower like it is currently. I think that's unnecessary. Like it'd be harder to parry, and it'd just be better if it was 700 MS. It'd be better in team fights as well. Maybe that's why they nerfed it. They thought it'd be too good. But there are 800 MS unblockable heavies, so why not have a 700 MS one? It seems to be fine. And then I would also give him his running attack as a forward dodge heavy, because he's got space in that for his moveset, and his running attack is really good. But you have to be unlocked and running to use it, which is quite clunky. So it's not very nice to be using in the middle of team fights. You just use it to get into a team fight. And I think it'd be nice to have it as a forward dodge heavy. So yeah, that's what I would change on Orochi.
I just want to also add that, like, I reckon they'll speed up his slides, but to 466 in total, rather than 433 or 400 like we had before.
You think that would
I do think no, because people notice, hey look, I can react to Orochi lights now, this here is garbage. I'll say some shit like that.
If they make it 33 MS faster, then I'd have trouble. I couldn't react to them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to either. But then I would struggle with 500 MS lights normally, and I definitely struggle with them in this combat update.
I mean, they also have good animations, which is also an issue. Like, new heroes come out and they have janky animations, so you click here,
Yeah, the old ones are better, aren't they?
Raiders rework knocked his lights down such a fast speed, the animations got janky. I mean, they even changed them. You don't have to poke with the pommel anymore. and all that.
Yeah.
Aramush is slower because they basically don't want 600 ms heavies because they'll make him 500 ms with the indicators. That's the only reason he's slower.
Well, I
Oh,
think people also complained a lot about his damage, the damage nerfs in the last testing ground update. They said that, oh, he's got 20 damage heavy, he's got 22 damage side heavies, he's rubbish.
that is true.
And they want to make all the heavies have standardized damage values. And so they're either going to nerf his heavies down to 20 damage in this, when people will complain about that. So they don't want to do that, they make him slower to compensate instead.
Yeah. I think they went for the feeling of heavies need to like hit big, and they can't hit big if they're that quick because then they would break the rule that they implemented with it. But yeah, we missed the PK
fair,
question.
It was unhealthy to have 40 damage, 7.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
If you think PK needs a buff, how would you buff her?
Yeah, the thing is, at least like we said before, the dagger cancel. At the very least, make it neutral, frame advantage wise. That's
I'd
the
give it
bare
like
minimum.
200.
I would swap around dagger cancel and deep gouges frame advantage.
Well,
I
I think the
would do.
I
reason they
don't
want
want it
deep
to
gouge-
feel bad. That's the problem.
But
It's because it feels so clunky. It
deep
really
gou-
does. Like you do it, and then you sit there and look like a fucking idiot. Like, and
I'm
now
just
I
saying, like, deep gouges like the defensive one, while the other one's the offensive one. So I
No,
think
deep gouges from heavies like that you.
you get it from a light attack, a light parry, for example.
You land neutral heavies as PK. People sort of it's the other half of her dagger cancel mix up. They try and block it on prediction and eat the heavy, right?
yeah.
So I think, and they want heavy finish to be frame advantage, and because essentially it's a heavy finisher, so it makes sense that deep gouge is frame advantage to me. I would give it 200 ms frame advantage on the dagger cancel. And I also
that much. Give it that much. Okay, fair enough.
well, that's the same as Shaman's has. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, then makes sense.
I'll just give it that. And it means that if the person is spamming dagger cancels, a light will interrupt a dagger cancel. But if the PK goes dagger cancel into a light attack,
Yeah.
the light attack won't get interrupted. So I think that's a nice middle ground.
Yeah. Like I said, it just feels so bad. It feels really, really bad. The 700 ms it's such a massive delay. You don't expect it to be. It's like, am I not pressing or what's happening? And all of a sudden you attack, and it's like, what? That's actually the recovery. It's like you don't even need to measure it to something. You can straight away feel this is just too much. This just feels bad.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between like when you could throw someone and then dodge out of the throw recovery back in the day. When they changed that, it just felt so horrible. But because it's something you don't do that often, or you can basically live without. I don't need to wall splat someone as PK. I think that's fine. Or I don't need to get like the zone and then an additional zoning on an out of stamina throw or stuff. I mean, that's fine. But this one is just the I don't know, the combat flow is just, it feels like there's a pause in it. It feels like way too much.
Yeah, definitely. You have to kind of go back to playing how it was playing PK before her dagger cancel buffs, and if you poke someone with a dagger cancel and you just don't continue with your offense, it's now like before you could kind of flow from it quite nicely, and now she just completely lacks flow from that, and it feels pretty horrible. Is it true that LB's parry punishes are basically almost pre-nerf again? Yes, it is. He gets 40 damage on an impale, which is, well, it's that. We will see if they nerf his impale damage, because they made the same mistake in the last testing grounds. It was 8 damage in the first week, and then they nerfed it to 5 damage. So maybe they will re-nerf it, but even then, it's going to be a lot. They'd have to make it like 1 damage, and it would still be crazy high for a heavy parry punish, because you still get 33 damage, even if the impale only did 1 damage, you get 33 damage on it on the heavy parry, which is just insane. But his other parry punishes are lower, and like his other specific parry punishes, like his light parry punish only does 11 damage now, and His zone parry punish does less damage than his neutral zone, which is that feels like a mistake. His neutral zone is 15 damage, and his parry punish zone is 13 damage. You can't see, but I'm shrugging. Don't know why that's the case. But yeah, he's going to get 40 damage off every parry in ranked duels, so expect to see his numbers remain incredibly good. Although it's nice not to have the hyper arm on a shove.
She's a good mid clearer, and she's basically S tier.
She's S tier. These feats just catapulted up. Her moveset could be even worse, I'd say, and she'd still be S.
Yeah.
It's just the feat is so incredibly busted.
If you're watching our games, it got to the point where we're joking about, oh, we don't have a warmonger, someone has to pick this hero, even though none of us wanted to at that point. Because she is just so strong, not having her means the other team wins.
Yeah. I mean, if Zhanhu came out with his Fire Flask as his tier 1, even though in his release state he was pretty reactable and pretty bad, like, he's better with Core Combat all day, but, he would still be an S-class hero just from Fire Flask as a tier 1, and to be honest, this isn't that far off it. So yeah, but she is good otherwise. And I think she would still. I think even though in competitive they're gonna ban this feat. Like, I think they want to do like a few scrims to see how it feels, but I have no doubt that her tier 1 will be banned, which means in essentially her tier 2 and tier 3 are also going to be banned because nobody would bother using those without her tier 1. So, like, if she has those feats banned, I think she still will be a viable pick because she has.
Immensely strong.
Yeah, I think she's got a good enough moveset to be a viable character. She's basically Warden's, but with buffs to be good at teamfight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Her other feats are
I
pretty.
guess I kind of have to pick Arrow Storm if they ban the tier 1.
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
Arrow Strike, Arrow Storm.
Flesh Wound or something? I mean,
for
I'll
tier
have to
2
pick
is
that.
Flesh Wound, which is.
I reckon I'll pick Arrow Strike.
Yeah. Oh, Arrow Storm. Yeah, Arrow Strike.
I want to see the competitive Arrow Strike tactics come out. Because
the UB dodge attack is surprisingly good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not very high damage comparatively. It's only 23 damage in the core combat, but that feels fine.
By the way,
good external hitboxes, and you can punish pashes with it.
The thing is, that's how you're gonna use it. You're gonna lock onto someone and then use the pretty big hitbox to hit someone else. It is like calling it a dodge attack is, I think, a little, I don't know, confusing because you're not really gonna dodge a lot. Feels you need to really delay the input for the heavy afterwards. So you need to use the dodge frames from your dodge to dodge something, and then you input the dodge attack.
It's like Nabooshi's dodge attacks in that regard. You actually have to dodge first, then input attack.
But it's also much more guard break vulnerable than Nabushi's dodge attacks.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's harder to dodge with than Nabushi's dodge attacks, and you will get guard broken out of them all the time if you overuse it, like I did when I was playing her in matches earlier.
Like, you're not punishing Nabooshi, you're gonna get GB'd out of it, and
But yeah, I think people probably actually will pick Arrow Strike over Flesh Wound because Flesh Wound is. Flesh Wound's not bad. Flesh Wound is bad. It has some benefit of in Jumanji type situations, and that kind of thing. Well, not GB ganks because
doesn't count on GB.
No, it doesn't. It only counts on being hit. So, and actually, now I got to think about it, it's less than hit stun. It's the same damage reductions you get from hit stun anyway. So if somebody hits you with heavy and then their ally gets a heavy off it, you're gonna get 25% damage reduction on that anyway, which is actually worse. It's better than what you get by default with this feat. So I don't think it's worth picking. And Arrow Strike, whilst bad, I'm not saying it's good by any means, does do a respectable amount of damage, and it can clear mid, and it can be used from a long way away. So maybe people will pick that. Which, it's not a good feat, but it'd be fun to see how it works. She's got regular Vanguard perks. Just don't use shield up because it's rubbish now.
Oh, they changed the description. They actually did.
Yeah,
they
they did. That's how
that's how
we
we found it out before they told us.
Oh.
Oh yeah, Devourer got nerfed as well. Devourer is strictly worse than Remedy,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Also, them. What David was asking was like basically put on Black Iron, for example, and like show how the material, how like all the different armors have different base metals. He wants to basically see that.
Oh yeah, I quite like that actually.
Like,
Okay.
it's nice, but it ruins mix and match basically.
For some chests, for some sets, it definitely does. Yeah, like that one. It's the Lethe chest. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
The Lethe chest is really green all the time. Same
Yeah.
with the Melio.
Oh yeah, right. That's when people speculated we'd get a green armor color.
We might get a green armor color, but
I mean, sure, eventually. I mean,
yeah,
would be fine.
Well,
This like
the one you saw in the screenshot was just the armor itself.
I was about to say oxidized copper, but copper doesn't oxidize, right?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
It does.
That's what the green stuff is.
Yeah.
Is that? Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Is it oxidization or is it tarnishing?
Well, tarnishing is oxidation. It's
I don't know.
it's oxidization of the.
Is it rusting then? Only iron can rust, right?
Only iron rust is a particular compound, but it's quite similar to iron rust in how it forms a surface layer.
Yeah, her fashion is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels great.
I like her fashion, but as I said, the mix and match is super harmed by the whole base metal meme.
I think that
she doesn't have good ornaments
for it with the alternate sets, which are really nice.
That is true, but
I hope they make the alternate sets on other characters. I'd be nice to see BP without the little goblins on his armpits.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good.
I think people would eat it up. Just like remove these fucking goblins on the elbows and make it a completely new set. Sure, it's not much work or something, but it's people would love it. Like, I mean, customization sells in this game.
Yeah.
It's fine, and even small changes, like people would be happy about it. Like, yeah.
I think I've been saying similar things the entire time. Like, this is why I made such a big fuss about the color palettes being available and more color palettes being available, because they're not like, it doesn't cost them much to do these kind of small things. So why not just do them?
I don't think anything has to be done except remove the thing, right? There's no like, I don't know, putting it on the skeleton model or something like what they keep saying for the other models. But everything that has been done already, right?
Yeah, they might change UV mapping and depending on.
Yeah, but there is something underneath, right? If they remove the elbows, there is something underneath. It's not like there's a fucking hole there.
I don't know. Depends how optimized they mesh.
On BP there is, because
Jesus.
you can turn off the.
What that then?
You can sometimes turn off the physics when you go into training and instantly pause your menu, and you can see them without arm pads.
Huh.
Because arm pads have jiggle to them, and anything that has jiggle isn't rendered.
But it's got like the goblin face is on like a little plate, isn't it? So,
yeah, it's on the jiggly plate on the end.
So if they took the goblin face off the plate, but left the plate without the goblin, would it still?
That'd be a different mesh. So no, that doesn't actually exist.
But are these gonna have these are all different meshes as well, because the different parts of the meshes, the jiggly parts are part of the same mesh.
Yeah, no, but they've designed this to be removable.
Yeah,
they designed the base of it, and then the other, which is something they should have done before. Having that sort of design is really good for modularity.
Oh, show the Apollyon mask on this character. It's really funny.
Yeah, go put on the Apollyon helmet. It's full fun then. Yeah.
That one, yeah. It's like, yo dog, I heard you like Apollyon. So I put an Apollyon on your Apollyon.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have really bad clipping as well. It's quite funny. What does annoy me is that you can't get the battle pass stuff on this character. So even though all the battle pass is all themed like Hawkos stuff, and this character is the leader of the Hawkos, you can't get them on this character, which that really sucks actually. And I hope they at some point patch it in to have the battle pass cosmetics on this character, because it just feels fucking pointless, to be honest, that not there, and it's so little effort to just enable these things that are copy pasted across different characters. Just why not have it like that?
Yeah, the best new mask effect.
Yeah, the sheep is amazing. The sheep is so good. If you do the execution one, is so funny as well. Oh, cute too. I made a Valkyrie with the. It has a really good embossing as well of the sheep, of a screaming sheep, and so the embossing's on Valkyrie's face. It looks like Valkyrie screaming and she's the sheep. What do you guys think about the gender lock?
I don't care.
I couldn't care less, to be honest.
I main Nabooshi.
It's like it's completely fine. That's one gender lock hero. It's completely fine. I mean, if they decide this is what the hero is supposed to be, then it's fine. Be the hero female or male. It's whatever to me. Right? Sure, it would be nice if we had both genders. Sure, why not? Well,
yeah, I mean, I don't care enough.
I don't know. It's really such a
male version.
I don't know. It's a waste of time to discuss this. To be honest, it's
yeah, it's Napoleon cosplay. Then like, what you can do with the extra Napoleon arm? You're gonna make a male variant.
I mean, they did for a Lawbringer.
I mean, it's not the Napoleon arm, not exactly though. It looks similar, but it
like,
isn't it.
Hammer out the boob plate. That's quite a good emote. I didn't see that one before.
That one's good, along with the.
Oh, she gets the Bard's ones.
She was basically meant to be released season 1 this year. She has all the what should we call it? All the universal emotes.
But she doesn't have the Bard executions.
She doesn't have those. I don't know why they didn't give her those. It literally is from her season as well. It'll probably be weekly content, probably.
Signature is a reference to the campaign.
Yeah.
Is that when she pulls it out? Is that how the campaign ends?
She pulls out the dagger when a PK stabs her. Like she kills the
by
PK.
the way, I like the effect from the battle pass. I think it's really good.
I don't like it being random. Otherwise,
you don't like it being random. Oh, I mean, I don't
mind. I think it's nice.
I would love if I could have all 5 weapons around me. That would be cool.
Yeah.
You can on the emote version, I think.
Yeah, you do. It's just idle. But then again, I don't use effects.
That's the. If people don't know, that's the.
It's for the.
It's unlockable in the event battle pass.
Yeah, 25 levels like before.
Yeah, it's the same as the Prince version one. Although I don't know if they're doing an event mode for it.
No.
They're not doing.
If you look at the roadmap.
By the way, how long is it?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. 35, 3 weeks.
Yeah. It might be 4 weeks. I'm not sure.
I'll manage, I guess.
Our build says 3 weeks, so we're just assuming 3 weeks, but it probably is 4 weeks or more. I'm glad they didn't make the mistake of making it 2 weeks.
2 weeks with like
2 weeks for 35 levels is.
No, because 2 weeks of an early access for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would really suck.
No, if they did that, I think the community would be in uproar.
To be honest, I don't even know how much motivation I'll have to play matchmaking.
Well, it doesn't take too long to get through the battle pass, I think. Yeah, do you think the trim Apollyon had in the actual campaign is the
it's the iron
one or the bronze one?
It's the iron one. Someone reposted it and I was looking for it. It's the iron one.
Okay. Fair enough.
She didn't actually have gold, but we all thought she did. It's probably because we associate her with the Apollyon armors, which are all black and gold.
Black and gold, yeah. He hasn't got any of the rank rewards or anything, of course. It's always disappointing. Like none of the palettes or.
I mean, yeah, but she has less mythic outfits than BP, despite literally copy pasting his shoulder ornaments, which I don't understand.
Wait, what? Really? Which mythic outfit does BP to have that she doesn't?
The Galaxy one. I really love the pattern on that.
Does she not?
She doesn't have it. No.
Oh, that's disappointing. And BP does have it.
Yeah. Go to BP then and show how many he has. It's really weird. Like, because the rest of the illustrious and mythic outfits have all their things copy pasted, but BP gets their one extra.
What kind of what is the
effect on it is pretty bad. The ornament Which one?
Prismatic Galaxy.
Prismatic Galaxy. It's Griffin.
But yeah, she doesn't have it. Really.
Yeah. But she has the other ones, which is really weird to me.
I don't know, it feels like there's a lot of these things which they like, and I guess that's why it's nice that they did the alternates, because the alternate sets feel like they feel like comparatively small amount of effort to make, but they're really nice to have. And I feel like there's a lot of things in For Honor which are like that they don't do. The ranked rewards, for example, are a really blatant example of how much work would it be to enable the old ranked rewards on characters that haven't got them, like the palettes and stuff like that.
Unironically zero work.
Zero work, like hardly anything. But they don't, and it's annoying that they don't do that, because it feels like they could totally do it and it'd be very easy. And that's what these alternate armors feel like. As they're finally doing a small thing that's easy, but it's nice. So I like how view count when we were discussing fashion has gone up way more than than we're discussing any game stuff, which just goes to show that For Honor really is just medieval dress-up
Fashion
simulator. And that's fine.
Well, she looks good around, yeah. I agree.
Then do you have the Apollyon set? Just show what overall trim. Please. Yeah. I do want to add something about the alternate sets. If you do the maths, she has 20 sets right now, without including alternate. But then if you look at the Apollyon one and discount that as a reuse of assets, and then you look at the Astria one, because the chest, arms, everything is reused on that. If you cut those two off, she basically only has 8 sets if you're not counting alternates.
I don't think it's fair to consider the Astria ones as reusing of assets.
Even then, 9 sets. That's 3 less than Zanhu on release.
I mean, I don't know how much they had to rejig the Apollyon set at all to make it like split up into different parts, but yeah, it does feel like and they coloured it as well, so it takes colours.
There's no new arcade effect, is there?
Is there?
No, don't think so.
I don't think so. None of us noticed it.
I know there hasn't been one in.
Hasn't been one this year. You can still get all the arcade effects, which is why it's annoying that they don't put like the old things that you can get, like all the old outfits and stuff, because it's so easy to do. Clearly.
Damn, put the gold material on, please.
It's got gold material on, is it? Oh, that's bronze.
That's bronze. Yeah. That's gold.
Shiny.
It's all trim.
I think they want to like her hands to be like part of her weapons.
Yeah.
Like she uses it as a claw in her bash and everything, and she does executions using it. So I think that's why they like have looking at her hand all the time. I think it's a bit of a shame that her bash doesn't do any direct damage with her claw. They just like put 5 damage from her finishers onto the claw itself. I think that would be cool.
No,
and nice.
don't give them ideas to up the damage even more.
I don't want to up the damage. I don't want to up the damage overall, but if you could distribute some of the damage onto a direct damage from her claw, would be quite nice. But
regarding the animations, because you mentioned the bash, one thing that throws me off is a late feint of a bash into GB. That just looks bad. All of a sudden, like the GB happens. That's the only thing that bothers me while playing.
I don't think it looks bad. I think it surprises me how late it is, because it's way later than even Warden stuff. You think you've like waited long enough for her to do the fully charged bash, you dodge, and then she feints it. It's definitely, I think it's better than Warden's bash in that sense at catching like late dodges. But I don't think the feint looks too bad. I think her lights don't look great because they're just Warden's lights, but Warden's lights always look pretty weird. I think her like guard animations look quite bad actually. I don't like her guard animations. Like where she holds her sword just inside guard and top guard just look to me.
Maybe because it's delayed on the other person's end. I don't know. I think it looks weird when someone feints the bash really late and all of a sudden the GB comes out. It's like, oh yeah, I dodged the bash. Oh no, it was the GB after all.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you can like see somebody is going to be dodging and then go into the guard break. I think it's because she spins like her entire body around for the guard break, and it's the same guard break animation as Warden, isn't it? That looks less bad when she does that side guard break, because then she's like bringing her arm forward still. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not sure what I think about her reusing animations. Like on a certain, like I know people are like thinking that it's really lazy, but I kind of think it makes sense, at least with this character being a pretty much a polygon, to reuse animations and
I don't know.
you know
Reusing animations, I think no one has an issue with that. I think it's that we can tell it's pieced together from other stuff that bothers people.
I think overall it doesn't look that bad. I think like the bash, yeah, they say like the bash is
I don't
Centurion's
think
guard
that's
break
good
animation,
either. I don't think anyone
but I think it has a
minds
look.
how it looks. I think because they can tell, oh, this has been in the game already. They use this part here, that part there. I think that's what bothers them. It doesn't matter how the end product looks.
Yeah, well, I get that, but that's what I mean. I don't mind. I don't mind that.
I don't mind it either, too.
It looks good
To a
still.
degree, at least. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I mean, I have other issues with this game than.
What I think is funny is that like she has her like parry impale, and she has like she does the half swording thing in the in the face off screen, but she doesn't reuse Gladiator's skewer animation anywhere, which seems to me that would be an obvious one for for her to have as a part of her moveset. But seems to me mildly amusing. Yeah, the feint and the latest feint timing on her charge bash is what is it, 1166 or
1166.
yeah,
That's the
4
latest I
seconds.
got, and
That's
consistently.
which
So.
is very late, and I think the latest Warden can do is 1100. So it's an
I
extra.
haven't double checked Wardens, to be honest. Maybe they.
Well, they say it's like he starts 100 milliseconds before. It's 100 milliseconds after movement, and that
Yeah.
that
Oh,
ends
Breach
at,
changes. By the way, there's no health change, no damage change. Breach is exactly the same.
yeah, breaches the same. But then again, heavies are still the same damage, if not more. So like you can still kill pikemen about the same speed as you used to do anyway. But yeah,
It looks so bad. The combo looks.
I don't think it looks too bad, but
I
yeah.
mean, it looks out of place. Let's put it like that. Not necessarily bad, but it looks out of place.
I think it's because it got so much movement at the end of it that if they, I don't know. I don't think it looks too bad, but especially like when the top one, because he kind of swings it around his entire body. But yeah, it does have a later feint timing than Warden's bash, as far as we know. I don't think, like Free said, he hasn't checked Warden's bash, but it definitely feels later as well. I'm not sure if like I definitely feel it like fighting the bot in the current event mode, that she like fucking waits for you to dodge and then feints into a guard break and catches you. Like she really does input read. But... Any other questions we got?
Huron's had a question about damage of Yomigan to be higher than in live and TG. That's like
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's just standardization.
standardization
Again,
thing.
it's just how it is now.
Yeah, and it's also fine in my opinion. Like Shaolin has way more damage than in live, and it's good. To be honest.
I think it's to a certain extent it's fine. Like Jormungandr's damage is low on live, or at least when he was released, because he could get you out of stamina easily and get a really big punish on you.
Because another big punish is rare.
Yeah, and now he can't get you out of stamina nearly as much. So it doesn't like matter as much that his heavies do less damage. And he used to trade very easily with his heavies as well, but they don't trade nearly as easily now. So it kind of makes more sense that they are kind of the standardized damage as well. But yeah, I don't know. Yawn feels weird. Quite tired. It's quite late now. I've been talking quite a long time,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna be. I'll start phasing out of
No, I will go to bed.
consciousness. But so yeah, let's say I'll leave in. I'll be heading out in 10 minutes because I've still got to do spreadsheet stuff for tomorrow as well. So if you've got any more questions for me in the last 10 minutes, please put them in the chat.
What's the change for the Centurion? Centurion is the same, just with more damage.
Just more damage, yeah.
40 damage on charged heavy, unblockable.
It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine, by the way.
If you enjoyed Centurion, he's even stronger now. Like
Mhm.
every aspect of him is probably strong.
I'm
No,
sure
they-
they will change them down again. I feel like they realized
Centurions.
they were bugged to see that.
Sense heavies were nerfed to 30 damage and 28 damage, min and max charge respectively.
Yeah.
So it's already been nerfed.
I don't think that's going to come out with this. I'm not sure we're actually allowed to talk about this, by the way, being a.
Oh,
Did they say that?
unfortunate.
Alright.
I asked.
I don't think it did. So, no.
See, the thing is, they don't know what we were supposed to talk about and whatnot. That's a good thing.
Well,
Yeah.
But they
I
haven't
won't
even
say anything because.
Well, that'll come out soon.
Yes, I'm sure there will be changes to some of these damage numbers soon.
Sugar's looking good. Sugar's looking good.
JJ, I didn't play enough JJ like
He
in
feels
fours or
really good.
anything because I mean obviously the choke is really insane now if you parry a zone.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to option select JJ's heavies because you will actually get more punished for doing them than you would if you just fainted a guard break. So don't option select JJ. Basically, is the rule because he's only going to get 14 damage from a guard break anyway, and that's for half his stamina. So yeah, just go for regular parries on JJ. But his stamina use on his side heavies still feels really bad because he doesn't have any benefit from them versus like in live he doesn't get stamina penalties from having his heavies parried, but nobody does in CCU. But his heavies are still like 3 times as expensive as everybody else. So I has tissues. This was the change to his choke was actually a change in the last testing grounds. They did that change as well. So yeah. I think you get a whole samurai faction rework. I don't think it. I mean, Kensei needs minimal changes. I think he just needs variable timing, soft feints, and his bash from a chain heavy, and then he's fine. He's good even. Orochi needs a few extra things. Nabooshi needs a few extra things. Hitakiri needs a few extra things. Shigoki just needs a roll capture now, and I think he's fine. And changing his
I mean, the hug
hug
recovery.
recovery,
And,
yeah.
I mean, the obvious stuff. I mean,
The obvious
I don't know
stuff,
why
yeah.
we keep mentioning it. There's so much stuff that's obvious that needs changing
Yeah.
or a fix.
And Shinobi, I think Shinobi could get away with almost doesn't need too much stuff to be a for like he just needs to I think he needs to have I think the issue with Shinobi is that his ranged attacks keep him at range. He never like shaman his ranged heavies don't have much more range than a shaman forward leaping heavy. But after shaman does that, she's in your face. Whereas with Shinobi, he's not. So I think if they just made it so his ranged heavies, you automatically do the forward roll afterwards, and then his forward roll kit always confirmed a heavy as well. Then it would be a mix up in itself. I don't think they need to do too much more beyond like that to make him into a like not horrible character to deal with. But he does need that is still significant reworks, I guess, for Shinobi. But Aramusha, give him deadly feints from his opener heavies. I think he's fine. But then again, I don't play Aramusha very much, so I don't know that much about him. Not every parry riposte has issues. Only those ones on zones, JJ's,
JJ and Warlord, right?
Gladiators, and Warlords. Yeah. So
JJ
Yorm's
Black
does
Orc.
30 stamina damage. You can see there's a spreadsheet with all the. It has stamina values as well. Let me put it in chat again. Did they buff any feats like Iron Lungs or fix Rally Core least? No, they did not.
That's what I mean with the obvious stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
the obvious
we
stuff.
keep repeating that, and it's like, eventually it'll. I don't know. Will it eventually happen?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think so.
Yeah, it's 30 on George.
Yeah, it's 30.
Yeah, it's all completely 30 now. It's standardized.
Does it still do the? It still does the pause on if you bash somebody when they're out of stamina. It still does the. Oof.
That does so much damage now.
Yeah, no, that's more damage than live. Well, actually, no, not quite. 35
No,
and
because
40
now
instead of
it's still 50,
30
isn't it?
and 50. So it's
Mhm.
5 damage less. But I think he still has the infinite if you're in a corner.
The thing is, I think we expected damage to be so different. So when we say, "Oh, that's so much damage," and might even be less than life, but I don't
Yeah.
know, because of the perception we.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in general, we were hoping for damage to be lower across the
Yeah.
board,
I mean,
so you'd have more chances to make reads and mix-ups and all
Yeah.
that good stuff.
Heavy's just
But-
still do so much. You make
Yeah.
one mistake and get like out of stamina GB or something, and it's
Oh yeah.
and once again it's like 60, 70, 80 damage. Like what?
Yeah.
Fights decided more or less. That's what I think everyone was hoping for to not be the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I think we were hoping that out of stamina punishes don't come as frequently because you
yeah,
won't be out of stamina as much. Which they don't, to be fair. But like, if you don't, I guess if you overuse lights, they definitely they will you will still get out of stamina punished. But I'm not getting out of stamina punished as much as I used to. So I think it feels a bit better. But I forgot what I was going to say now. Sorry, I'm not used to talking on stream, so sorry about that, guys. Yeah, 40 damage on his pin move. Like, honestly, I feel like his damage, the values that he had in the original game before his rework would have been still been a little bit too high.
Hang on, not them. Hang on, when you do the parry riposte on
It does
a
10
wall, you
stamina
do more.
damage.
You do the same damage with
Mhm.
the heavy now, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. In fact, if you get a guard break, it's always better to just go for the charged heavy because you get
No,
40 damage off it.
do the charge heavy. You do 40 as well, right?
Yeah.
But you have to mix up then because the punch then is completely useless.
Yeah.
No, it's extra
Yeah.
haymaker
It's
damage.
40. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what you want to use if you get.
If you
Oh
have
yeah,
haymaker,
I guess it's the haymaker damage. Oh, fair
But
enough.
yeah, haymaker.
you get 4+4, so you get 50. What's it? No, 40.
I still think it's better to sacrifice the 5 damage for the potential of another mix-up on an opponent who's still out of stamina after all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, depends.
Depends
mean,
on the stamina
He has
bar.
options now. It's always good to have options.
Yeah.
It's fine, but still 40 damage on the charged one there is like,
I think 40 damage on the pin is too much as well. I put it down to he gets it easier than he gets access to his pin move, like the pounce move, way easier than Shaman's Bite or Yorm's Heavy or Yorm's Hammer Slam. So it shouldn't be as much damage. Like 35.
yeah, it is 55 damage, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that would be fine to be the same.
But yeah, guys, I'm out. I will.
Yeah, I got to get going as well. Thank you very much for having us, Dan.
It is 1 for me.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And of course, if we've got other stamina, if you've got other stamina, if you have other questions that you would like answering about the Qualcomm update or in general, I'm around in Freezer Discord, and you can always just put a question in the Q&A mega thread on the competitive subreddit, and I frequent that. But you'll probably get answer from somebody else before me, but I'm happy to give you an answer as well. Yeah, send me a message on anything. I normally answer them fairly quickly. Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Dan.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for doing that.
All right, bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
I will also be heading out.